Hello and welcome to this lecture on Chapter 8, the Internet and the World Wide Web. When we talk in this lecture about the Internet, one of the things that we want to understand is that the Internet's been around for much longer than the web. These are different things. The Internet dates all the way back to 1969 and the advent of ARPANET, a government-founded agency that connected two and then four total research areas in California to share resources, data, and information across large distances rather than just within the same building or the same campus. It was remote connections there. So ARPA, 1969, which was the same year that NASA put a man on the moon, ARPA created ARPANET. Now, it wasn't the Internet as we know it today, because the Internet is a global network of networks, and ARPA was just a single network that had 4 sites connected together. But ARPA grew into the Internet. It got bigger and bigger, and more networks came in. Now, the World Wide Web is different than the Internet. The World Wide Web became a service on the Internet in 1991. Now, this slide actually doesn't have 1991 on here. The proposal for the Internet by Tim Berners-Lee was in 1989, where he was writing about it and started working on it. But it actually became a service on the Internet in 1991. 1993 is interesting because that's when Mosaic, the web browser, was made available, and Mosaic ran on standard PCs. The first web browsers were primarily being used at the research institutions and not on Windows-based PCs. So Mosaic made it visually what we're familiar with today, pictures and text and links to other pages, pictures and text. They didn't have the picture part until 93. Anyways, the Internet been around 69, the web since 91, really blew up. The web really took off like crazy during the 90s. And then in the 2000s, the web went through a further evolution, what we call Web 2.0. The idea that tools became available so that average users could upload their content to the Internet. Facebook and Instagram and social media tools like Twitter, everybody now, if they want to, they can post their opinions on the Internet. That's even more recent. So the web's been around since the early 90s, but Web 2.0, the really easy ability to upload and add content to the web, is even more recent than that. As we talk about the Internet, what we're talking about is a global network of networks. So there's many networks, and therefore there's many users involved, and there's many people that own their own private parts of the Internet, and there's many organizations that work together to provide the protocols and the standards that are necessary for all those networks and all those people and all those organizations to work together. Internet service providers are businesses that facilitate the hierarchy from the end users up to the fastest fiber optic backbone, high-speed, high-bandwidth connections, and they do so at a price. You pay a monthly service fee to be connected to the Internet, to your Internet service provider, and some of that money that they're paying is going to the ISPs at the levels above them in that hierarchy. Application service providers, these aren't the people that provide the hardware, the physical structure for the Internet and how those rules go together. They are organizations that are providing applications or software that's made possible over the Internet. So there are programs, let's think of Blackboard. Western actually runs and maintains the Blackboard at our site, but the actual source code for that is maintained by the Blackboard organization. So they're kind of like an application service provider, and they work in conjunction with Western. There are other more business-oriented application service providers that provide human resource software, that provide customer relation software. There's a number of programs out there that are made possible that allow software to be available as a service to the end users. There are governments and other organizations involved. In fact, there's probably more organizations involved than there are governments involved. Governments tend to limit Internet use within its country more than provide access to it. What most governments do is they end up not restricting access. It's very little that a government does, or it's not very common that a government gives more access. They might provide some infrastructure. They might provide some high-speed bandwidth connectivity through the system, but in the United States, that tends to be done by private organizations. And then ICANN and W3C are two examples of organizations that play a role in that network structure being involved. ICANN takes care of domain names, the domain name mapping that's done by ICANN. W3C, they take care of the standards, writing what a web page looks like and all of that. The internet is free. That's not the case. You might have free access to the internet at McDonald's, but the internet itself is not free. Those networks are not free. Companies own them, and they charge a service for using them. So McDonald's may make it freely available to you, or Starbucks may make it freely available to you, but they're paying for that. Someone controls the internet. That's not true. There's many organizations that work in collaboration to provide the internet that we know, but there's not a single person that makes the decision. This is the way the internet's going to go. This is the bandwidth that we're going to support. These are the prices we're going to have. There is no one person or one organization or one government in charge of the internet. The internet and the World Wide Web, they are different things. From a technical standards difference perspective, they are different things. TCP/IP, the protocol for the internet. HTTP, the protocol for the web. To the average user, the average user interchanges internet and World Wide Web synonymously, but they're actually different when you start getting down to the technical details. You connect any number of devices to the internet, personal computers and smartphones and smart TVs. The Internet of Things is a phrase that you'll hear discussed. It's the idea that even your thermometers and your refrigerators can be connected to the internet and be able to share information that way. We already have our TVs connected to the internet. We stream Netflix on your television, very possibly if you have a television bought in the last 2 or 3 or 4 years. It probably has Netflix built into it, or has internet connectivity built into it, and you can use that to stream service there if you have an account on Netflix or HBO to go or whatever. The same idea can apply to your refrigerator. Your refrigerator could be connected and stream information over the internet just like your television does. But of course, you don't stream Netflix over your refrigerator, but you could, your refrigerator could just as easily use the network to communicate to your phone to tell you if you need milk or if you need eggs. That idea is not very common today, but it's certainly possible technically, and it's something that's going to happen in the future. The ability to change your home thermostat from your phone remotely from work to heat up or cool down your house an hour before you get home. Again, something that's very possible. Mobile data cap's a good idea. If you're on a data plan, you can look on your phone and find ways to monitor and even put limits on there so that halfway through the month, if you're halfway through your data plan, you might give yourself a notification or even a hard cap that you can respect as you go through that. Setting what's your connection going to be to the internet? Fewer and fewer people have what's called dial-up, which is using the phone line in a way that you cannot make a phone call while your phone is being used for an internet connection. This was the old America Online. This was the old You've Got Mail. It made a squeaking sound as the modem went through a handshaking protocol connecting process. It's still there are still certainly users that are using a dial-up connection, but direct connections are more common, and we have a number of more direct connections that we use, and they have different prices. I think this slide's even better. Let's just use this one. Here we see conventional dial-up versus cable. Cable modem comes to your house in a coax, and it plugs into the cable modem, and then internet connections using twisted pair come out of that, or wireless. DSL also uses your phone line, but DSL does not limit you from connecting to making phone calls while you're using your old traditional phone system. So it runs in parallel with your phone lines, and it's always available at that point. It's better than conventional dial-up, but it still uses phone lines. Satellite uses a satellite dish to go up to satellites, receivers in the sky, fixed wireless, broadband, and I think in class we probably talked about Google Fiber as an even newer and better way of getting connections to your home. And any number of companies are working on providing faster, cheaper access to get those monthly dollar amounts that come from people. Wi-Fi hotspots. So if you don't have internet in your home, there are places you can go to get internet connections. You can get them from campuses, from public libraries. Many restaurants have public Wi-Fi. So more and more people are getting connected to the internet, certainly in the United States and worldwide. Those numbers are growing. Quick quiz number 1. The internet began as an experimental network. By what name? It was ARPANET, letter A. You can see the answer is A for that. True or false? Cable is a common type of direct internet connection. That is true. Coax cable from your cable company is one of the most common ways for internet to the home through your internet service provider for the homes. 3, a type of always-on broadband internet access available through your phone line that does not tie up your phone line is DSL. And DSL is a better way of using your home phone to get internet connection than doing the old dial-up where you can't talk on your phone when you're connected to the internet. Okay, part 2, searching on the internet. We all use the internet to search, but there are some things you can do to get even better with your search techniques on the internet. Google has gotten better and better, Bing from Microsoft and Yahoo and Ask.com. There's a number of tools that are out there, and they all use the same idea of gathering the data using crawlers that crawl the web to gather information and build a big database so that when you do a search, it's not actually going to the internet to search, but it's searching the database that it's accumulated, so it gives a much faster result. But there are things that you can do on your end to improve searching. The search engines are doing their part. There are things you can do. You can search on the internet you can use your search tools to do more than just search for terms. You can use it as a calculator. You can use it as a dictionary. You can use it, what is such and such, or define xenophobia. If you hear that word being used and you're not sure what it means, you can just sit down into Google search engine and say define xenophobia, as opposed to just typing in xenophobia and getting pages that may or may not have the definition. If you want to do math and you don't have a hand calculator near you, you don't have to pull up the calculator on your computer. You can use Google and just type in 5 times 61, and it'll give you the answer for that. It'll do conversion for you. If you want to say $600 in yen, it'll tell you how much that's worth, the current conversion rate for that, and the amounts for it. If you want to convert square feet to square yards, it'll do that conversion for you. So it's really nice. The power of our search engines are more than just searching information. They have a lot of information at our fingertips. And the phrases that we search for, if we are searching for web pages, you have more options for your web page search than you probably thought about. So you know that you can search multiple keywords. And you know that if you probably know that if you put those multiple keywords inside quotes, you get a more restricted, more focused search. So here we see dog hand signals. You get millions of hits, but if you say dog hand signals inside quotes, you'll get pages that only have all 3 of those. And we're getting thousands instead of millions of hits. The first one without the quotes, you're getting all the pages that have dog or hand or signals, and with the quotes you have to get all 3 of those. You can also use things like and, or, and not to increase or decrease your searches. Not, some browsers use a minus sign instead of the not symbol, but if you want to search and get results that don't have a certain interpretation of those results, you can do it. So if you say Tombstone, but you don't want the movie Tombstone, you could say Tombstone-movie, and then you won't get the as many hits that have that the movie on there. The word movie will not be in any of the pages. You can use wildcards to get keywords and to get alternate spellings. It's a good, there's a number of good search techniques here. A couple other things you can do. You can type in some fields like title colon, text colon, site colon. And it doesn't matter if you type it at the beginning or the end. Let's look at the site example. It says forms and then site colon irs.gov. By doing the site, you're limiting your results to be just that domain name, just that domain's hierarchy. So anything that has forms on it from any of the sites that are something, something, something.irs.gov. So you won't get any forms from WKU. You won't get any forms from USA Today. You'll just get irs.gov. It's a really useful, probably my favorite of these is to do the site colon wku.edu. If I'm searching for something and I know it's on Western site, I'll search for whatever keyword it is, final exams or whatever it is. But I add in that search either at the beginning or the end. So final space exams space and then site colon wku.edu. And you know that whatever you get, it's going to be something on the Western web domain. So I don't have to worry about seeing some other schools' final exam schedule. When you search the web, you should have a critical mind in terms of how you evaluate what you find. There is garbage out there on the internet, and no one polices it and says, your views are too stupid to be on the web, we're going to delete you. Unfortunately, that's not the case. The most stupid, ignorant, backwards thinking, incorrect thinking statements possible can be placed on the internet and would stay there. If someone tells you that 2 plus 2 is 6, there's nobody that's going to kick that opinion off of the internet. So it's your job as the consumer of the information on the internet to check the source, check the author, validate, or to have a skeptical mind as you look at data. Your skepticism goes away as you get data from more trusted sources, from authors that you personally know or that you've seen them before as being reliable, that's up to date and current, that has an appropriate number of hits or references for the date that it was published and so on. When you use information from the internet, you should give credit. You should reference the sources. Plagiarism is easy today because of the internet, because of Google, because of search engines, but that doesn't make it any more right. It actually, in my opinion, should make you less likely to plagiarize because it's so easy to get another opinion and then to combine those opinions, those views that other people are saying into your own words. So there's even less of a need for plagiarism, even though it's easier to do now than it ever has been. Quick quiz number 2, true or false? The search phrase site wku.edu, final exams, would return results only from the wku.edu domain. That is true. That's what the site colon and then a domain space gives for you. So it's a really useful search tool. Go ahead and try that. If you haven't already done it, try it right now, and you'll notice the Google results. Every result will be something, something, something.wku.edu. It might be from the accounting department. It might be from the math department. It might be from the history department. It might be any number of things, but they will all be eventually from the wku.edu domain. Every result of the search query will be from that site, from that domain. True or false? The search phrase trailer minus horse would locate web pages about horse trailers. That's false, because if your browser interprets this the way that I'm assuming by this question, where the minus sign means a not, this is really saying search for trailers, but pages that have trailer but don't have horse. So there's all kinds of web pages that use the word trailer that don't use the word horse. I don't think images would necessarily filter out images that include horses in the images. In fact, I'm sure they wouldn't. But the text of the web pages, where the text can simply be processed, they would exclude pages that the text includes horse. So it would include trailer and it wouldn't include horse. Nice way, again, another nice little trick that you can use that might be helpful when you're doing your web searches in the future. A program used by many search sites to retrieve matching web pages from their database is called a search engine. And by there, we mean that Google maintains its own search engine, and Yahoo has theirs, and Bing has theirs, and every company has their own search engine, their own database that they use for their search engine. And part 3, beyond browsing and email. Okay, so email is already kind of dying out because of instant messaging, like we're seeing on this slide. But browsing the web and surfing out in the mail and doing instant messaging, those things are kind of popular. But what do we have beyond those? So email's already an old technology. It was kind of very popular certainly in the 80s and even in the 90s. But as more and more people are getting online with their smartphones and using text messaging as a format, people are fewer and fewer sitting down at computers and more working from their phones, and instant messaging works very, very well for that. Instant messaging, text messaging, I think text messaging assumed that you were using the phone network, and instant messaging is more using the internet network. But both of those use SMS as the service for doing messaging. And and I don't think I need to tell you all anything about messaging. But there's more than browsing and email and messaging. There's Twitter and social updates. There's voice over IP. Again, voice over IP, it's like making a phone call, but you're not physically using the old phone system. You're using the internet as the communication channel and internet protocols to break voice data down into packets and send those packets to its source and destination. Video conferencing and webinars. This is something that you probably haven't done as much as you have instant messaging, but it's something that you probably will do in the future. The idea that you can conference with somebody without having to physically be in the same room with them. It used to be if you wanted to meet with somebody and interview them, you had to go through a rather lengthy process of driving to where they are. Now, if they're just down the street, it's not that big a deal, but they're in another city, 2 hours away, 5 hours away. Right, that's a long drive. With web conferencing, you can sit down at your computer, they can be at their computer, and you can have a face-to-face-ish conversation and interview. And for business, that's been a real boon. There's still times when you want to meet face-to-face with somebody, and businesses are still doing face-to-face, of course, for sure, and they will. But for smaller information communication opportunities, more and more we're able to avoid the overhead and the cost of face-to-face and just have a web video conference or teleconference. And webinars are kind of like seminars, but again, you don't have to physically go there and listen to the speaker. You can listen to them from your computer, and you can listen to them when you want to listen to them because they can be recorded, which is really, really nice. Social networking sites, social media, webinar, webcasts. A difference between a webinar and a webcast, totally one way. Right? A recorded webinar is one way. You don't get to change the webinar once it's been recorded, but a webcast is one way from the start. It's designed to be, it's more like a radio broadcast. So we're using social media part of, again, this is all just in the last 15 years. Web 2.0 in the 2000s, Facebook and Instagram and Twitter and all our social media apps have made it possible for you to share your opinion. Things are very different. Politics are very different now than they were in the year 2000 because everybody gets to see more people's opinions on things, and everybody gets to react sometimes too quickly without processing your own feelings. You get to share your feelings before you've had to come to a chance to decide what your feelings are on topics. But that's the world we live in, and we have to learn how to live in this world and how to do it for the best. We can use the internet for shopping and investing, right? Again, it's so much more than just instant messaging and web pages. The internet provides World Wide Web support, but it provides so much more than that. Buying things online, doing selling, consumers selling to consumers online, the ability for us to do that, to have auctions and bids. You have 2 hours to bid on eBay for an item. Banking online, the need to physically go to the bank to deposit a check, to do a transfer, to you can't withdraw from your home, but you definitely can transfer and do a number of things and check your account and balance your check statements. Investing online, if you buy stocks or want to see how your stock portfolio, if you've got a handful of stocks and you want to see how they're doing, are they up or are they down, you can do all that online. It's very, very nice. You can do entertainment online, listen to music, watch videos, video on demand, the ability to stream information such as Netflix or a movie that just came out. These are all relatively new. I mean, in the history of the United States, in the history of mankind, this is not something that our parents dealt with when they were in college or when they were in high school, and certainly not something your grandparents dealt with when they were in high school, when they were in their 20s. It's new, and we as a society get to figure out how to respect other people and other opinions, and at the same time, figure it out for ourselves as well. I think I already said about video and on-demand, just some ideas there. And entertainment, right? Whether it's gaming entertainment, which is probably the biggest and best known of these, but there can be conceivably other forms of entertaining yourself online that's not just watching a video and it's not playing a game. Gambling, for people who like to do poker and those kinds of things, that's available online. And any number of options are going to be there. In fact, this is probably going to be one of the biggest areas of growth, I would say, in the next 5-10 years. People are going to figure out ways of doing entertainment activities that are more active than passively watching a television show. Getting news online. Boy, this has been a big factor, right? The ability to have the world at your fingertips. And let me just put the caveat here. If you're listening to this and we're talking about news online, just understand there are biased sources of news and information, and you want to be careful about always listening to one particular source. If you get all your information from X, and X is biased, then you're going to think that the world is tinted more that particular shade and that particular perspective than it really is. And it's going to make it hard for you to communicate with people who think differently. So one of the best things that you can and should be doing, if you were going to listen to advice from me when it comes to online news and information, it would be to get data from sources that both support what you believe and sources that disagree with what you believe, not because you're trying to convert to whatever that wrong way of thinking is, but because you want to understand why reasonable people might disagree with you on certain topics that are very heartfelt and deep and personal to you. Respecting other people and their perspectives is the most critical thing that we need to develop, understand, and advance in this information age. Podcasts and RSS feeds, are there people that you listen to on a weekly basis? There's some that I like to listen to. I like Neil deGrasse Tyson, Star Talk. I like to listen to it a lot. I like to listen to a handful of feeds. I like the NPR game show. I can't think of the name right now. Wait, don't tell me. All right, there's a few things that I'll listen to on a regular basis, but more than anything, I'll probably listen to a podcast for 5 or so episodes, and then I'll move on to another podcast. Trying to get a diversity in my opinions and my thinking. I think that's been very helpful for me to do so. The Internet of Things, I mentioned this before, your refrigerator able to be connected to the internet, your thermometer in your home, the temperature control in your home, having it connected to your phone or your computer through the internet so you can change the temperature in your home and monitor it. We're going to see more and more and more and more devices that themselves are connected to the internet, and it's going to create opportunities and challenges. One of the challenges is going to be what happens if these devices get hacked. And hackers are using these devices for denial of service attacks and other types of malicious attacks. On the plus side, what is it like to have the ability to really monitor the water usage on our washer dryer machine and have that tracked in real time, to monitor the energy output for heating our home when we're at work? Do we really need to heat our home when nobody's there for 8 hours a day, and so on? There's technology that's available to us now that we can wear, and that data can be collected and then processed. And because of wireless connectivity, it can even be sent to our computer at home or to our phone somewhere else when we ourselves don't have our phone with us in those situations. Education is being impacted by the internet so much more than just the web. Right? We have the ability to use tools like Blackboard to have recorded lectures like the one you're listening to now, to have completely online classes, distance learning, recorded lectures from other people, information on YouTube. It's education is being disrupted in a positive way. The end result is a better learning experience. At least that's the companies that do best on the disruption of technology are the companies that figure out a way to provide a better service for their customers. And hopefully education is doing that as well. And you yourself get to express your opinions. There are blogs out there, which is an abbreviation for a web log. So it's not a journal that you're writing on a notebook in your home and then putting in your dresser drawer. It's a journal or a blog that you're writing electronically and sharing it with anybody that wants to read it. Wikis, abbreviation for what I know is. That's not actually what Wiki stands for, but it's a good way to remember it. What I know is, and you get to contribute your knowledge to it. Wikipedia is the world's biggest and best known wiki. And anybody who has a wiki account can edit the content on a wiki page. You could edit the content on WKU's Wikipedia page and tell them about dining at Western or housing at Western or whatever it was that you had knowledge about Western Kentucky University. You could add that to Western's wiki page. And then other people would edit it, and you could edit other people's information there, and so on. A blog, other people don't get to edit your content. They can make comments at the bottom of your blog, but only you, the blog writer, can edit the contents of your blog, which is different than the wiki where everybody can edit it. E-portfolios, keeping up with work that you've done and sharing that with others. Again, another great opportunity there. Issues of censorship are coming into play. Who limits what you can see? Who knows what you can see? What's going on there? Countries doing some censoring of information that comes in to the citizens of their country, and some challenges with that, both morally and technically. So that's an issue that didn't exist 20 years ago that now is a legitimate political discussion that countries are having with their leadership. Privacy issues. When you're browsing the web, who has history and information of where you've been browsing on the web and what's being used with that? Cookies are an issue that kind of comes up in this. Cookies are just little text files that the website, when you're at USA Today, the USA Today website is part of the HTTP request and response, part of the protocol. Part of the response could be not only the HTML page that you're viewing on the browser, but it can also be another text file that gets saved on your machine that says, this person visited this web page at this time. And it's possible that those cookies can then be shared so that a bit of an image of your browsing use can be kept up there. Now, they can also keep that information on their own site without even putting it on your page. So if you turn off cookies, it doesn't mean that USA Today is not going to track the pages you visited. Amazon is going to track the books you've bought and the pages you visited and the items you look for, even if you don't have cookies turned on. At their best, cookies allow the web pages to remember some of the choices you've made and give you a similar browsing experience when you go back. But it is an issue that people think about, and your browser has the option to turn off cookies if you want to. Spyware, specifically adware, these are both examples of malware, malicious software. It's not the software that you intended to run. You run Microsoft Word, you expect to do something, you browse a web page, you expect to get the information on that page. When unexpected, unrequested programs are being run, it can fall under malware, even if it's not, some of these things may not be called malware. It's adware, where an ad pops up. Is that malicious or is it just business? I think that when it's unplanned by the consumer, it's probably considered malware. I probably would put it that way. Spyware for sure is probably malicious. It's something you don't know that's on your machine, but someone puts it on your machine. This can be trying to capture the passwords that you're using for your online banking, to trying to get control of your machine to be able to send spam emails out when you're not using your machine in the background. In all these cases, you want to make sure that you have properly installed antivirus software that's going to help you be more protected for this. Email, speaking of privacy issues, Hillary Clinton probably knows this very well, as much as any person in the entire world. Your email has a long lifetime, and your emails are not private. Email is more like a postcard. Imagine sending a postcard through the mail. Everybody who touches the postcard can read the postcard. When you write email, you should think of it as a postcard, not as a sealed private document. Because as the packets of your email are sent from you to the receiver, along the way, it touches a number of devices, and those devices can read your emails unless you're specifically encrypting the file before you send it in a way that can only be decrypted by the receiver. And by default, email does not have that encryption to it. You've got to understand that it's going to be very publicly read. Furthermore, you have to understand that email is going to be saved for a long time. A physical letter has only 100 years or less until the paper just dissolves, until the paper just gets exposed to the elements and goes away. When it comes to electronic documents, they will live forever. Your children, your great-children, your great-grandchildren, and your great-great-great-great-great-great-grandchildren will all be able to read the emails that you write. They'll be able to see the Facebook posts that you post. So be aware that you are not in a private communication when you are doing an electronic communication of any type. And the final quiz. Ordering a movie or television show to be downloaded from the internet, it's probably called video on demand. Of those choices, that's probably the best. It might be called something else, streaming or something different. A URL that begins https:// I don't think I remember talking about this, but it's a good point. The S stands for secure, or you can think of it, I don't think it actually stands for secure, but you can think of it as standing for secure. And with a https:// web page, the data is encrypted by your browser before it's sent through the internet to the receiving web server, and the web server has the ability to decrypt it, but everything along the way between the two do not. So it is secure when you use HTTPS. And 3, blocking access to a particular web page or types of web pages using a browser, it's called internet filtering. And parents can filter on their home computer. Governments might try to filter, and it's not secure. You can't, as parents, you've got to understand you're not going to be guaranteed that your children aren't going to see opinions on the internet or pictures on the internet that you don't want them to see, even if you have a filter there. If you've got access to the internet, then and you're worried about what your kids are seeing and people are seeing, then you need to have that machine in a place where you can monitor them and not just trust that to the software to monitor it. And countries that are trying to monitor it as well, citizens get around that as well. Okay, so there we go. Have a great day.